If you're new in town or just new to this whole podcast thing, you're tuning in to Law by Night, the podcast that discusses all things vampiric with no fear of breaching the Masquerade. In this episode, we begin to unravel the mysteries surrounding the origins, motives, and cultures of the 8 ghostly legions in the world of darkness. This episode will focus on the victims of Happenstance that make up the Emerald Legion.
Ouch! Oh, ouch! Oh, God, that is hot! No, I've got it! It should be alright. I wasn't too fond of these trousers anyway. Oh, don't look so upset. Accidents happen all the time. No one was harmed. Well, my thighs might disagree, but it's nothing bad. In the grand scheme of things, it is rather insignificant. If it was during one of our explorations, and not this large Ted, well, something awful might have happened. One, if not both of us, could have died, and we were really unlucky. We might have become wraiths. That reminds me. We still haven't talked about the legions that govern Stygia. We've discussed their overall function a few times, but I have yet to share our understanding of them. Well, we are talking about accidents, so let us start with the Emerald Legion. Oh, no, that is not me being rude, but I can understand why you might have thought that. We have discussed it before, but the Emerald Legion are composed of wraiths whose deaths come about through happenstance, meaning their demise is most untimely and accidental. The range of possible causes of death is quite large. You have the most common, like a plane or a car crash, hitting your head after a nasty fall, be it from a large cliff or a banana peel on a wet floor. It also covers the more obscure, like someone with a serious nut allergy eating a chocolate bar, a patient cut off from life support because the power went, or the even more freakish possibility of being sat on by an elephant. There are also the hundreds who die through following storms, earthquakes, and other merciless acts of God. Then there are the more tragic tales of the miserable alcoholic whose home burns down in their sleep because the cigarette set the rug alight. It is almost humorous in a way. I don't need to be looking at you to know you smirked at least one of those cases of the lethal oops. I can imagine legionnaires within the Emerald Legion sharing their embarrassing deaths, causing quite the cacophony of laughter. Of course, not everyone would share such ironic humour to their circumstance, but they are usually not wraiths filled with hatred or malice, from our understanding of them at least. Regret and envy perhaps, but not the former. Their sudden departure means the Emerald Legion wraiths are closer to their fetters than other legionnaires. They have more business left unresolved. It also means that said legionnaires would struggle more to seek transcendence, as it's difficult to make peace with happenstance. It is much easier to take what you have than wander on what you don't. This is a very common Emerald Legion ethos. That said, we do know that the Emerald Legionnaires whose mortal life ended with an act of God are encouraged to reflect on their demise in the Seat of Thorns, the large emerald palace maintained by the Emerald Lord Samagadus. The Seat of Thorns is filled with maze-like structures that all must traverse to reach the Emerald Lord and come to terms with their demise. There is very little we at the Phoenix Institute know about Smaragdus. Firstly, and perhaps most importantly, few outside the other Death Lords know Smaragdus is the Emerald Lord's name, so hold that card close to your chest. The origins of such a name is most fascinating to me, and I personally believe it lies in one of two places. You may know that Smaragdus is Latin for emerald, which is obviously very fitting, conveniently so even, so it is not that simple. Smaragdus maybe is the Saint Smaragdus, a Roman Christian martyr, or the Smaragdus Byzantine administrator, whose lifespans are some 200 years apart of each other. Now, if I was to pass my own opinion, I am betting it is the former, given what we know and understand about Charon's obsession with the way the Romans did things. However, there is plenty of evidence to suggest there has been at least 2 Emerald Lords in Stygia's histories. Many accounts describe the first Smaragdus as a venile and conservative politician who ran the Legion for his own personal enrichment. Smaragdus's Legion was inefficient, corrupt, and dedicated to lining his own pockets at every level of the hierarchy. During the Great War, when the Fourth Great Maelstrom was in full effect, Smaragdus initially aligned with the Smiling Lord, who declared himself the de facto emperor during Charon's absence, out of pure self-interest, when he believed the Grim Legion's coup would succeed and Smaugtus obviously wanted to be the one on the winning side. When the Smiling Lord started to lose, Smaugtus joined the Loyalist side, which makes the Emerald Lord quite the astute politician. The Loyalists, by the way, were wraiths that sided with Charon and believed his style of rule was the best way for the Dark Kingdom of Iron to continue existing. It is said that Smaugtus #1 was dealt with by the Monitors Guild after he betrayed them at the end of the Great War. They took out all of his close contacts and was driven from the Legion by his own Anacreons. Other records of ours state that the Monitors killed him, while some said he hid and rebranded himself. Whatever you wish to believe, the Emerald Lord Mark II, or 1.2, would place a heavy emphasis on the independence of his Legion and the adoption of new ideas, making the Emerald Legion one of the most efficient and well-adjusted organizations in Stygia, becoming known for its forward thinking. In some areas, at least. It is no secret that the Emerald Legion are lax when it comes to Charon's laws, particularly that of the Dictum Mortem, which is mainly due to the fact that the Emerald Lord insists that his Legion's own rules supersede Charon's wishes should the two conflict, rules that would greatly disrupt the status quo of Stygian society if it was adopted en masse. This code of conduct is called the Emerald Values, and it is drilled into every Emerald Legionnaire. I don't think I need to tell you to explore what happens to those who are not quick to get with the program. The Emerald Values were allegedly written by the Emerald Lord himself, following the latest disappearance of Charon, and it is what is said to be one of the main reasons behind the increasing influence and higher profile of the Legion as a whole. Some necropoli just ignores them because of the work involved to implement them. It is also very possible to make each of these values very twisted and sinister in the wrong hands, which other places treat as gospel, which is where the Emerald Legion shines most brightly. That said, some would insist it glares, depending on who you ask, that is. When an Emerald Anacreon turns bad, an Assessor State is born, commonly found in the Shadowlands of dictatorships or areas overwhelmed by bureaucracy. The Assessor States are pockets of the Emerald Legion control where the Emerald Values are twisted into a cult of productivity, and those who don't measure up are hauled before Assessor Boards to determine whether they deserve to be kept from the forges. Oddly, the Emerald Lord and his advisors do nothing about the multiplying of assessors, instead preferring to issue suspicious, internal disagreement statements. You've probably heard such things before. I know I have. Because of this frustratingly suspicious neutral stance and lack of will to do anything constructive, more assessor states sprout, and more Emerald Legion wraiths are faced with the choice of falling in line with the assessors or facing the forge lines. Anywho, let us go through the Emerald Legion values together. There are 4 in total. Number 1. Determine risk. Don't simply calculate your chances for success, determine them. If you don't like your odds, fix them. This differs massively from the usual cover your back approach of the other legions, whether you are undertaking missions in the military or projects as a civilian. The combination of risk, performance, and trial and error has created an air of positivity amongst the legion. It makes sense, as we tend to learn more from our mistakes than successes. In a place where people are content with acceptable losses, mistakes suddenly become near successes. Then there is the theme of chance. Emerald Legionnaires are encouraged to practice the Fatalism Arcanos to change the odds of success. Fatalism allows one to see into another's past or future and read a wraith's ultimate fate. As such, every Emerald Legionnaire is taught the basics of this Arcanos to try and reach for that 80-20 success rate. In addition, they are encouraged to speak to oracles and the like, and because taking risks is encouraged, they should bargain with their shadow, which you know is very dangerous stuff indeed. But leaving everything to chance is just reckless. You should know how the simple task of gathering information can leave you better prepared for the event in question. Number 2. Cog turns wheels. The reason anything works is because legionnaires and clerks make them work. They deserve the highest respect and reward for their individual contributions. To put things quite simply, everything gets done because people make them happen, not the ones barking orders. From those in trenches fighting spectres to the pencil pusher in an office somewhere, it is the common person who makes sure things run smoothly. As there is a strong emphasis on manpower, few Emerald Legion wraiths are smelted down, as they are said to do more than the other legions in the fight against Oblivion. One can imagine the rare sense of security that can bring. It also means that what is constructed often serves as good enough, unless one happens to have relics to hand, which may originate from those desperate World War times. Both of them, just to clarify. Number 3. Throw it up and see if it flies. Failure is acceptable, not trying isn't. If an idea doesn't work, rework it and try again until you make it work. From this, we know that those risky Emerald Legion wraiths are encouraged to plan and take risk. If the plan fails, it should not matter, providing something was learned from it. It will work eventually. Finally, number 4. Talk emeralds, not fawns. Emeralds in Legion are Venculia are solutions. Fawns, by contrast, are those things which obstruct solutions. They also stock in trade for shadows. The value is obviously the toughest for the Legion to follow, through no real fault of their own, as it can be difficult to discern failure caused by the wraith alone or assisted by the shadow. No doubt many projects have imploded in of themselves because of a shadow's input, but there are ways of tackling this, if not head-on. Finding a solution to a problem makes you an Emerald Legionnaire. Finding excuses is work of the shadow, or fawns, their gifts. Negative comments are encouraged, but only if they provide workable solutions. I touched upon the potential of a necropoly attitude towards the Emerald values a few minutes ago, which obviously are under rule from the other legions, but what sort of view does the Emerald Legion hold over the other legions? Well, our researchers told us that the Emerald Legion holds a mildly tolerant view of them. They recognize the need for them, but the Emerald Legion sees themselves above the others because of their organization and efficiency. We know their closest allies are the Legions of Paupers, who were also raised that died through mysterious circumstances. The Emerald Legion resents the Legion of Fate for not sharing information with them, most particularly why the Emerald Legionnaires and the Legion of Paupers to that end had to die in the first place. On the flip side, the Emerald Legion hates the Grim and Skeletal Legions for their excessive amount of wraiths they send to the Forges. Just so much wasted potential! We also found that the Emerald Legion do not treat the Renegades and Heretics with as many antagonistic feelings as the other legions. They are more groups to be studied than hated, generally speaking. They are somewhat more open to them, recruiting them to join the military. Kindness is an alien experience to most of the Dark Kingdom of Iron, and yet it is very common within the non-military affairs within the Emerald Legion. The Emerald values have allowed civilians to address their own life as a business, going so far as the Anacreons and Regions viewing themselves as a CEO and vice presidents and so forth. The positions in power go around checking on their citizens, praising and providing constructive criticism to encourage and improve their workflow. This company, so to speak, is about stockpiling resources to defend against the might of the Shadowlands. We are told that most are very polite in their respective job, sticking diligently to the Emerald values. The same, however, cannot be said for those in military positions. The self-titled old soldiers were said to be forced into following the Emerald values sometime in the 1960s, believing their infantry tactic blocks were superior to the more tactical approach. They saw it as young bureaucrats meddling in things they did not understand. You could argue their age made them stubborn, which could be true, but it is more simpler to the fact that hundreds of independent, acting, forward-thinking soldiers are not a fantastic idea. The young and old would bicker about it, with both sides rioting, causing all sorts of mayhem. A wraith by the name of Marcus Lowry stepped forward in 1972 with a plan. He convinced the old guard to allow him to combine the Emerald values with their focus on individual action with tried and true small unit tactics. He organized the Legion into small ranks of around 10 individuals each, with field-promoted occasional Centaurians or OCs commanding each rank, with regular Centaurians commanding 10 to 12 ranks, making up the centuries that would work as one large unit or many smaller ones. In addition, he negotiated with other legions, loaning them Emerald ranks for special operations. These small groups excelled at such focused operations, winning them kudos amongst the legions and gaining Lowry many followers. While many of the old guards still hold to their traditional tactics, low-rise legions continue to gain in number and popularity. We also know of the military uniform, for which there are two styles, depending on which army you find yourself in. The old soldiers have long coats, trousers, knee-high boots, and squared-off military hats. Each rank of low-rise uniforms adopt its own style of uniform, while remaining within the parameters of military dress. The Emerald Legion are certainly a hotpot sort of lot, aren't they? As of the possible ways they could die, to be honest. Happenstance is an equal opportunity killer after all. It is very difficult to truly define, thriving on risk, chance, and surprising levels of constructive criticism. Of course, there is the very sad truth that is not every member of Victims of Happenstance. Not every Legionnaire wears a genuine smile. They still feel the twang of their fetters and do battle with their shadows, and no doubt they would all do almost everything their shadow would tell them if it meant they could get another chance at life. So much suffering and regret, rarely able to act upon them. The best thing these wraiths could do is accept their life in the Emerald Legion. It is not a perfect solution, but it offers a small bit of respite, where the Legionnaire can find some appreciation. Maybe they could find some encouragement too. To be kept updated, follow the Law by Night VTM Twitter and Instagram pages to find out when we upload each episode. You can also find out by subscribing to the YouTube channel and clicking on the little bell, as you'll be immediately notified when the latest episode is live. Until next time, farewell.